Hey everyone, I'm Case Aiken, and after the last couple rounds of Captain's Britain, let's see what this side of the pond has to offer for a Superman analog. Of course, that means I'm talking today about Captain America. And now, Captain America is a big part of the MCU, so I do feel a little weird explaining him, since he's so popular. But he does share a moral vision with the OG Superman, despite having a far more limited power set. So Steve Rogers, Captain America, is oftentimes dismissed as having no powers. But as the subject of an experiment to create super soldiers, he is extremely strong, fast, and resilient compared to a normal man. He was, after all, an attempt by the US government during World War II to create a super soldier, someone capable of fighting whole battalions of Nazis by himself. Cap is one of the more persistent Golden Age elements active in the Marvel Universe, and his optimistic, lawful good nature reflects that. When he was reintroduced in the Silver Age, the shift in how heroes were written, the staple of Marvel characters being defined by greater nuance than heroes that had come before, was highlighted with his resolute advocacy for good. This is the same type of display of morality as in the Christopher Reeve Superman movie from 1978, a timeless type of good that almost seems quaint and antiquated in our modern jaded era. Cap's nature as a man out of his time also serves to show off a type of power creep. Not that there weren't really powerful characters from the Golden Age already. Cap's ability to still be not just relevant, but a major player is a testament to how justified his place in the MCU is. You see, heroes and villains had increased their average power level just as the stresses on society had become more complex. Captain America was the cutting edge of yesteryear. His disadvantaged starting place is evident that a moral path is hard, but ultimately a greater victory. This might be a bit of a spoiler for Endgame, but Cap is pretty well known for staring down certain doom and not blinking. Now, for a character who represents classic virtue in the face of modern society, sometimes society bites back. He's been stripped of his rank and title several times, but he never stopped fighting for what's right. My personal favorite identity he took up when these types of things happened was the Captain, wearing an updated version of his base Captain America suit, but with darker tones. Nowadays, you might recognize that from the costume that US Agent wears. But then there's also the much more head-scratching Nomad costume, which has the one saving grace of really making Cap look like a Superman type, what with the cape and all. And Cap was as prone to the trends as any hero, such as the 90s period, where he lost the super soldier serum from his blood and had to wear an armor made for him by Iron Man. He's also had smaller changes, like losing his shield, then donning the original triangular one, various facsimiles, or energy shields. But he always comes back to his iconic shield, which is an alloy of vibranium and adamantium, making it the one thing that Wolverine can't cut. And while his greater fame is a newer development thanks to the MCU movies, he's always been a flagship, no pun intended, character for Marvel Comics, and thus has been adapted several times. First for a series of TV movies that happened about the same time as the Bixby Ferrigno Hulk show, and I will say that the changes made to translate the character to screen in that didn't work. But then I maintain that the 1990 movie had a lot of potential because of some of the surprising for the time faithfulness to the books. The biggest problem was that Captain America isn't really the hero of the story of that movie, but rather a sidekick to the President of the United States of America. He of course had an Ultimates version, which did a pretty good job of updating the costume. However, for the character, I like the added military vibe. It works with the idea of him being your dad back home from the war, or maybe cool older brother or knight in shining armor, either way, back from the war. By Volume 2, they basically had the version that would be used in the first MCU movie. The only thing was that this Cap was a smidge more jingoistic. Still a good guy, but he represented America's flaws more overtly, and this of course was being written in the early 2000s, the big war on terror era. And yes, of course, I'm going to show the France panel. But where Cap really stepped up his presence was with the MCU. It helps that Chris Evans is so damn charming and perfect for the role. Captain America, the First Avenger, is a shockingly good adaptation of a difficult character. However, it is sometimes overlooked amidst Phase 1. And yep, I'm going to shamelessly plug two of my podcasts where I talked about Captain America, the First Avenger, both on Another Pass and on Men of Steel. However, it was with the Winter Soldier that the property became a frontrunner among the MCU. Here we see a fantastic version of the suit he wore when he became Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a time, on screen, and a perfect illustration of the role of Captain America in a modern setting. The follow-up movie, Civil War, was practically the Avengers movie for the launch of Phase 3, showing what the stakes were and really closing out the solidarity that Phase 2 represented. It's a really good movie and very important to the MCU. However, it lacked the Winter Soldier's elegant quest for Cap to find his place in the world and to know who he could really trust. And I mean, it would be rude of me not to mention that I also talked about Captain America: The Civil War on another pass. Now here's the big reason why Captain America makes sense to be part of this series. I've noticed at Comic-Cons and on Halloweens that kids don't default to Superman anymore. They go as Captain America. He's the pure hero that we need to encourage kids to aspire to. It's not about hate or vengeance, it's about hope. In the comics, Captain America is still at the forefront of the heroes of this era. He's made friends with people living on Krakoa, saved his world from being rewritten by Mephisto, and continues to be a champion. However, we have seen the MCU version of Steve Rogers' Captain America ride off into the sunset. But that's because human actors age, and Captain America is timeless. He's a hero that we could really use in the real world. Anyway, next time, I'll be back to talk about a different type of super soldier. But until then, stay super, man. Oh, and as always, like and subscribe to this video, and also go check out the podcast that goes along with this video, Men of Steel. You can find it over at certainpov.com, along with a ton of other great podcasts.